Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. What is the aim and purpose of the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra? And what was the problem it experienced in Assam today? The initial reports that have come in are not just unclear, but also patchy. Joining me to answer those as well as many other questions is the convener of the Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, which supports the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra, Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra Yadav, can you start by explaining what exactly was the problem the Yatra faced today in Assam? As I said in the introduction, the reports that have come in are not just patchy, they're actually unclear.
Karan, if you wanted to ask me about the success of the Yatra, I would say the one clear example is what happened today and what happened yesterday. Uh, Let me begin with slight background. When we did the Bharat Jodo Yatra last year, we went through at least 4 states that were BJP governed. Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, at that time, 2 more, Haryana was there. So we passed, and Punjab at that point. We passed all these states. And there was absolutely never a problem. In fact, Maharashtra as well. There was absolutely no problem. But in this yatra, the moment the yatra entered Assam, we have faced a series of problems. So the BJP is absolutely determined to ensure that this yatra does not pass peacefully, does not manage to connect to the people. And to my mind, it's a mark of success of the yatra. Let me just tell you what has happened. When we entered Assam, we found that wherever Congress people had put their flags to welcome the yatra, those flags were removed, BJP flags were put there. We said, all right, chalo BJP welcome kar rahi hai, achhi baat hai. Then, whichever place the yatra went, obviously public was invited. On that very location, the chief minister announced a special meeting for all the self-help groups of women. All women are invited on that day, on that particular location, to distribute a form, and all women are told, देखो उस दिन आओगे तो फॉर्म मिलेगा जिससे तुम्हें 10,000 का लोन मिलेगा, 20,000 का मिलेगा. Different amounts are offered. So all the women of that locality flock to that area. I've done a video. I've shown exactly what's happening. That's number 2. Number 3. Yesterday we were in Nagaon, 22nd of January. We were in Nagaon in Assam. And the most important religious figure of Assam is Shankar Dev. You know what Nanak and Kabir mean in our side of the world. Shankar Dev means in this side of the world. We were passing close to his birthplace. So we said we'll go there and offer our prayers. This was well announced. This was permission was taken 10 days before for 8 o'clock yesterday morning. Just a few hours before at night, we get a fatwa saying, no, you cannot go there. Why? Because Pran Pratishtha is taking place in Ayodhya and there would be congregation. You cannot disrupt it. We went there. We said, please allow us in. No, you will not be allowed. Finally, they said Gaurav Gogoi was the MP, local MP of the place. So Rahul Gandhi said, why can't the local MP go there? They said, okay, then only Gaurav Gogoi would be allowed. Rahul Gandhi will not be allowed to offer puja at a time when something is happening in Ayodhya. So Gaurav Gogoi goes there, and what does he discover? There is no function. The pujaris were waiting for Rahul Gandhi to come. Absolute plain lies. Anyway, that happened yesterday. And now the story of today. You know, incidentally, something similar happened in Jorhat. Permission was withdrawn at the last minute. In Guwahati, the planned to go through Guwahati city exactly the way we have done in every state, in every place in the previous yatra. In this yatra, permission was sought and denied. Now, interestingly, the route that Congress party had asked for this yatra is exactly the route taken 10 days ago by Sri J.P. Nadda. He had a road show in Guwahati, and Congress said, please give us exactly that same route. We'll use that and we'll exit the city. No. Then we got a statement from the chief minister saying, no, how can you allow in Guwahati? There are medical college, there is a hospital. So clearly medical college and hospital did not exist when Mr. Nadda was passing through that locality. So all that happened. So this morning when we went there was a police blockade. There were barricades. The entire city was barricaded. And we were told you cannot go there. Congress workers went ahead. Public came. Huge public gathered there. Public broke the barricades. And there was a lot of commotion. Everything happened. Finally, the Congress leadership, Rahul Gandhi, decided that, we've made our point. And we don't want to now take the yatra inside. So they symbolically did it and then have come out of this and have now gone to the route that the yatra was meant to take later. So that has been happening since the morning, huge commotion, obstacles, and basically the chief minister has made it a personal point to ensure that Rahul Gandhi does not pass through his state in a way that's why I should have also mentioned, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that yesterday, when we were passing another area, 1,000 BJP workers, Jindabad, Modi, 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 everything, so there are provocations everywhere in order to create some incident or the other. Fortunately, we've had no incident so far.
You say that you have been deliberately provoked by BJP workers who've been trying to provoke a fight. But as we've been speaking, it's gone on television that a case has been filed against Rahul Gandhi for provoking the crowd. They are accusing Rahul Gandhi of provocation and incitement rather than what you said.
Am I surprised? Are you surprised? What else is police supposed to do? So I'm not surprised. In fact, the chief minister, before the yatra was entering Assam, the chief minister in a press conference clearly said, ये आएंगे और मैं इन लोगों को सीधा कर दूंगा और राहुल गांधी की टीम में एक एसपीजी का पुराना आदमी है मिस्टर बाइजू who is his security advisor and his main yatra. He said, I will ensure that there is a case against him. He said, I will ensure that the yatra does not manage to pass. करूंगा और उसको जेल के अंदर बंद करके रखूंगा, दिखा दूंगा मैं उसको.
In fact, do you suspect that this is the Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma's retaliation for the fact that Rahul Gandhi publicly and perhaps repeatedly called him the most corrupt chief minister in the country? Is this retaliation and revenge?
Now we are coming closer to truth. Yes, of course. What else? And I suspect there's also probably a personal history. Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma has gone public to talk about how he felt humiliated within the Congress party. And you would recall his famous interview where he said, जब मैं गया तो उसने मेरे से बात नहीं की, कुत्ते को बिस्किट खिला रहे थे, मेरे तरफ देखा नहीं, मुझे बिस्किट भी ऑफर नहीं किया, things of that kind. This is Mr. Himanta Biswa Sharma's side of the story. I don't know the truth story, but there is a deep this thing. But the fact is, look, you have a personal problem with someone, go sort it out. You have a personal problem with someone, go take personal revenge if you really want to. But can you use your chair as the chief minister of a state to settle personal scores? Yes, indeed, Rahul has gone in this meeting. Not just ever since the yatra has entered Assam, Rahul Gandhi just goes and asks the people who is the most corrupt chief minister of this country. And the crowd says, Himanta Biswa, Himanta, Himanta, and so on and so forth. So, yes, this has been going on. The fact is that there are very serious allegations against Himanta Biswa Sarma corruption. The fact is that when he was in Congress party, then BJP had brought in pamphlets saying one of the first persons we will prosecute when we come to power is Himanta Biswa Sarma. So this is BJP side of the story as well. So those allegations are being made, and that indeed is what hurts Himanta Biswa Sarma. So this is for the first time, I should put it on record, that even Karnataka government, the BJP government of Karnataka, the BJP government of Maharashtra, they did not do what is being done here today.
Against that background, Yogendra Yadav, let me ask you a few basic questions about the Yatra itself. First of all, what is the aim and purpose of the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra, which you're a major part of?
Well, to put it in a nutshell, the basic idea is to challenge the dominant narrative. The fact is that BJP exercises political hegemony in this country. BJP has electoral dominance. BJP has money. They have media. They have everything. But other than that, BJP has also come to hold a stranglehold over the narrative of this country, an ideological dominance. And this is one thing that many of us have felt. I have said it repeatedly, that in order to take on the BJP, you have to challenge them ideologically, because that has to be the basic thing. And indeed, when Rahul Gandhi came to our meeting, this is a meeting that is to say Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, held 2 days before the Yatra was to begin. We called all our colleagues from different parts of the country. And the one message that Rahul Gandhi gave was this, that anyone who thinks that BJP can be defeated by mere politics, that is to say merely with electoral politics, better management, smarter candidates, etc., he said that's completely mistaken. The only way you can take on the BJP is politics plus ideology. In my language, the politics of ideology. And that's what the Yatra seeks to do by challenging the dominant narrative with something else. So for the BJP, the narrative is, what they call cultural nationalism, which is nothing national about it, but they call it cultural nationalism. Congress is taking on Nyay, justice. That to me is in some ways aligned with what I consider to be the only way of taking on the BJP, which is aligning it to the bottom of the pyramid.
I'll talk to you at some length about the narrative and about the concept of Nyaya, but let me ask you a couple of more basic questions first. Why is the Yatra being held at this moment, just about 2 months before the national elections happen? Would it not have been wiser for a straightforward election campaign to be held? Isn't the Yatra in danger of stressing Congress's already weak organization just when it should be readying itself for the elections?
I don't think the Congress's entire organizational strength and resources are put in this Yatra, the manner in which they were during the original Bharat Jodo Yatra. I think we should understand one distinction. The Bharat Jodo Yatra of last year was a Padayatra. So every day, thousands of people were walking with the Yatra. The entire Congress leadership was with the Yatra. And when the Yatra entered the state, the entire leadership of the state was walking with the Yatra. That was it. So you could say, in a sense, it would have been correct to say that Congress party had put all its organizational resources in that Yatra. This Yatra is not a Padayatra. It is a bus Yatra. And for example, I can tell you which of the leaders were present today. The Assam leadership was present there today. But besides Assam leadership, you have Jairam Ramesh, General Secretary Communications. You have Mr. K.C. Venugopal. And today, Mr. Bhupesh Baghel had come. He could not come earlier because of his father's death. He was there. That's all. These are the three major Congress leaders present in the Yatra. So it's not that Congress has put entire organizational strength there. Mr. Kharge, the president, has come twice for a few hours in this Yatra. So I presume that everything else is happening wherever it is happening. Election preparation is happening wherever it is happening. So it's not that all the energy is there.
Why is this, Yogendra Yadav, a Congress-only yatra and not a combined effort by the India alliance partners? At a time when the opposition needs to portray unity, isn't this creating differences and perhaps even divisions? Akhilesh Yadav is very unlikely to participate, judging by what he said, and Mamta Banerjee is uncertain. Neerja Chaudhary's concluded from this, and she wrote this on Sunday, the following. The Yatra is therefore exacerbating the differences in the opposition, not closing their ranks.
Nirja is a very senior political analyst, and I would definitely take her words very seriously. She's not one of those people who write just, she's certainly not part of what I would call Godi media. So yes, all these voices need to be heard carefully. My own sense is, of course, I would agree that in this yatra, one should expect to see the India coalition. It may be too early to conclude that India coalition is not there. I'll just give you two instances. Number one, yesterday we had an all-party meeting within the yatra. In fact, in Assam, there is a coalition of 15 political parties which is working with Congress. That includes the NCP, it includes the CPI, CPIM, CPIML, JDU. They are all present in Assam, and two regional parties, Rajendra. All of them had a meeting with Rahul Gandhi yesterday. Lovely meeting where all of them extended support and joined the yatra. In fact, yesterday, day before yesterday, all the major opposition leaders in Assam, other than Congress party, were on the stage and addressed the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra thing. And today, this public gathering in Guwahati, which was there to welcome Rahul Gandhi, I could see, and I'm sure you would see that from the photographs, I could see Trinamool Congress flags there. Many Trinamool Congress workers came and garlanded Rahul Gandhi. I could see Aam Aadmi Party flags there. I could see CPI and CPM flags there. So in some ways, the unity is taking place on the ground. And I sincerely hope that by the time we get to Bengal, we would get similar support from Mamata Banerjee. I do hope that it will be sorted out. So yes, ideally, these things should be done. My hope is that even if it's less than ideal, this yatra would become a show of strength of opposition unity, which it has been so far.
Okay, let's now turn to the important point that you made, the narrative, because that is the key and the heart of what this yatra is about. In a recent piece that you wrote for The Print, you say the BJP has, and I'm quoting you, successfully shifted the entire ideological spectrum to the right. What seemed outrageous a decade ago is now very routine. This is what enables the BJP to set the agenda. And then you add critically, the opposition needs to win back the battle of ideas and re-enchant the constitutional ideals in a new language for the new generation. How does the yatra serve that purpose?
And that's in fact the real point of the yatra. Wherever the yatra goes, there are two or three messages that are beginning to go out. One is that someone is willing to stand up for constitutional values in a situation, in a country where constitution has practically been set aside. I won't get into the details of what happened yesterday, but Karan, practically, for all practical purposes, a Hindu Rashtra has been announced yesterday, setting the constitution aside. At that moment, for someone to go out on the stage, on the road and say, we stand for constitution, we stand for diversity, we stand for everyone's right to say what they want to say, we stand for justice. These are not empty words today. Things that would have been empty words 10 years ago. You would have said, Are yaar, liberty, equality, constitution mein likha hai na, why are you so worried? Today, reciting the preamble to the Indian constitution has become an act of resistance. And in that sense, the yatra is truly standing itself. In fact, almost every speech of Rahul Gandhi begins by saying, well, there are two visions of this country. Javed Akhtar had a beautiful poem which captured that. ये देश को देखने के दो तरीके हैं. And it is clearly standing in opposition to the worldview that BJP wants to impose on this country, which is against the constitution, which is against the values of our national movement, which is against indeed the ethos of our civilization. So the Yatra may or may not perform other things. And yes, there would be questions about timing. Yes, there can be questions about its electoral efficacy. But if this one thing that it is doing is to set a counter narrative.
Okay, at the center of the Yatra, and this is part of the name of the Yatra, is the concept of Nyay. In your print piece, you argue that Nyay is more than just a literal translation of justice. You say it's an umbrella concept sanctified by the Constitution. Nyay can provide the ideological glue that unites a new social coalition. For those who don't fully understand what you're saying, can you explain this a little bit more in detail?
Our constitution says political, social, and economic justice. And in fact, while we have celebrated other parts of our constitution, we have not paid much attention to the concept of justice. And I'm very happy that this Yatra has become an instrument for drawing attention to this part of the constitution. Now, the word justice in Indian political parlance of the last 2 decades has become synonymous with social justice. And social justice has become synonymous with caste-based reservation. So anyone who talks of justice, nyaya, in our country, would be, you would say, acha RJD ka aadmi hoga, acha socialist hoga. So justice is equal to social justice, which is equal to caste-based reservation. Unfortunately, that is what it has been reduced to. But the nyaya that is now being talked about is clearly social, economic, and political. And the 5 constituencies that it is clearly targeting is women, youth, farmers, SC, ST, OBC, socially marginalized, and the poor. Now, to my mind, these 5 put together constitute the bottom of the pyramid. In terms of sheer numbers, Karan, you would be surprised that it comprises something like 98% population of the country. But in terms of access to resources, in terms of power, in terms of distribution of national income, all of them have been marginalized. So what we need is, and then that indeed is the only way to take on the BJP today, because BJP, the kind of majoritarian politics that BJP perpetuates, that can only be met and countered by another majority. And what is that majority? That majority is the bottom of the pyramid. And this social justice is not limited to caste-based justice. This is justice in multiple dimensions: gender, class, caste, religion, everything put together, which is what this concept. So in that sense, justice now is an umbrella concept that brings together various groups that need to be brought together to create a politics of resistance, which this country needs.
You have a very powerful narrative, and many would agree that it's a narrative that is necessary and essential as a corrective to what is happening in the country. But the problem is that there's something else that's perhaps even more important at the moment for the opposition. That is the seat-sharing agreements that must be forged between Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, Congress and Trinamool, Congress and Samajwadi, and indeed even Congress and its allies like the MVA and its Bihar allies. And according to newspaper reports, and there are multiple such reports, these talks have not only taken a back seat, but they seem to have hit a hurdle. Should this not be the priority? We are just 10 weeks away from the first voting, perhaps.
That indeed should be the priority of the opposition, and Congress being the largest single party, the only party with a national footprint among all the opposition parties, it should be Congress's principal responsibility to ensure that these seat-sharing negotiations are brought to fruition. They are brought to fruition sooner, the soonest as possible. I spoke to Jairam Ramesh this morning, General Secretary Communication, who's traveling with the Yatra. In fact, he was speaking to a civil society group. And the one thing he said, and I can quote it, although it was said indoors, I can quote him. He said, please don't go by media reports on seat negotiations. Things are happening. We are making headway. And sometimes in the process of negotiation, some sharp things get said. But he was very confident. I, in fact, also spoke to Mr. Venugopal, who's also traveling with the Yatra, General Secretary Organization, who should know all these things. And they have assured me this morning that the conversations, the seat sharing negotiations are happening better than what is currently recognized. But I take the point. I think it should be soonest possible, and in the most generous way possible, because there is a much bigger challenge that the country faces. And the one thing that the people of India want to see is a united opposition. I mean, if you can't even unite yourself, how would you take on Mr. Modi? That's a question everyone on the street asks. It's a very valid question.
Let me take up on that point you made, that the seat sharing must happen in the most generous way possible. And the question I want to put you with that in the background is this. After winning just 52 Lok Sabha seats in 2019, do you accept that Congress needs to answer a critical question about its aim in the forthcoming elections? Is it to maximize the number of seats Congress can win, or is it to ensure that Modi falls short of 272? Because in the present circumstances, the two goals cannot be pursued together. So which is more important in your eyes? To ensure Modi falls short of 272 or to maximize the number of seats Congress wins?
My answer would be absolutely clear and categorical, though that need not be Congress party's answer. But my own sense is that Congress's own answer won't be very different from what I hear Rahul Gandhi saying in public occasions, semi-public occasions, privately as well. Congress leadership seems to be saying that we are into this bigger battle, and that bigger battle takes precedence, and that they want to conclude it in the most generous possible way, generous to the allies. And
May I interrupt?
generous is probably not the right word. Yeah.
Can I interrupt? That's what you're saying, and that's what Rahul is saying to you. But if you listen to Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, he's demanding more than just 2 seats in Bengal, knowing how poorly Congress has performed in Bengal, not just in the Lok Sabha elections, but it didn't win a single seat in the Vidhan Sabha elections 2 years later. The same is the problem in UP. Congress is demanding more seats than Akhilesh is willing to give, knowing that they only won 1 seat. And Rahul lost his own seat at the Lok Sabha level. And if you look at Bihar, where they demanded and unfortunately got a lot of seats, both at the Vidhan Sabha level and the Lok Sabha level, they lost them. They fought 70 at the Vidhan Sabha level and won 19. They fought 9 at the Lok Sabha level and won 1, which is why I'm saying to you, the Rahul Gandhis and the Jairam Rameshis may understand the point, but those who actually are involved in seat sharing need to accept the point that the more seats Congress fights, the bigger the chance Modi will win those seats.
I completely agree with what you are saying. And as I said, I can only express my view. So without getting into the specifics of Bengal or negotiations in Bihar or in Uttar Pradesh, which I'm not privy to, I can only reiterate the point that you made. In fact, I also had the occasion to discuss this with Mr. Ashok Gehlot, who is part of the Congress's team, which is negotiating, and had a word with Mr. Baghel as well. When negotiations take place, there's always a local team's concern and there is a national team's mandate. And these two things, there's a bit of give and take between these two things. So I can fully understand if local team would always demand more and want to do more, and this happens. But in the last instance, the national imperative must prevail. We are at that moment in our national history where we simply cannot afford to take a partisan, petty, self-interested view. I say it very strongly because my tiny little party, we are a speck in this national universe, Swaraj India. We decided a year and a half ago that in this election, we don't want to contest. We practically said our party will do only one thing, which is work towards the defeat of BJP in this election. And I'm sure this is the spirit in which everyone needs to work. When I speak to the cadre and workers of the communist parties, for example, or Trinamool Party Congress, or workers of Samajwadi, RJD, etc., I get to hear similar things. So my hope is that finally this big picture national imperative would prevail. And I would certainly join all those voices which are pressing for it and saying, please, for heaven's sake, put the big picture first. Forget all these small things. They really don't count. The big battle that we are in today, which party, which banner gets how many seats is actually not of importance. In the last instance, you and I will forget about it 5 or 10 years later. What we would remember is the struggle, is the contestation.
I want to turn briefly before I end this interview to Rahul Gandhi. And before I talk to you about the impression he's creating on the Yatra, can I ask you, as a quick follow up to the last subject, you have talked to Rahul, you constantly talk to Rahul. Does he share your view that the big picture is what everyone needs to focus on? The aim behind Congress's strategy should be to defeat or at least ensure Modi doesn't get 272, not to maximize the number of seats Congress wins. Does he share that belief?
I mean, I don't speak to him that as often as people imagine I do. But even without speaking to him every day, even if you follow the semi-public conversations that he has with people every day, and some of which I'm privy to, because in this yatra we are organizing the interaction of movement groups from outside the Congress party with Rahul Gandhi, so I get to share that. But even that is enough to say that I'm fairly confident that Rahul Gandhi personally does share this view that we are in a bigger battle, and that partisanship, that petty partisanship and local consideration must not be allowed to trump everything else. That I'm reasonably sure of.
Let me then ask you, how is Rahul being perceived during this yatra, and how are people responding to him?
Karan, we've just been through a very small patch of the yatra so far, and it's a very unusual patch. It's the northeast of India. I really wanted, the national media to see the kind of response Rahul had in Manipur and Nagaland and Arunachal and Meghalaya yesterday. I'll speak of these four because, the national media doesn't pay any attention to these. We started in Manipur. We started in the Meitei area of Manipur, the Imphal Valley. Long line of women standing with the mashal in their hand at night. Enormous attendance of women. The next morning, we go to Kuki areas, which is what has seen enormous violence and suffering and pain. And what you saw in the eyes of those people. Acha, koi mera dard samajhne aaya hai. Koi mere ko malham lagane aaya hai. It really brought tears to my eyes, not because it matters enormously for Congress or for Rahul Gandhi. I don't know if Congress will win that seat or not. I don't know. But it matters to me as an Indian that these people suffered. They thought someone would come. They clutched him, they hugged him, and they cried. Then we went to Nagaland. You would know that by now Nagaland, Congress is almost wiped out. Congress doesn't have a single MLA in Nagaland, had about 2% vote share in Nagaland. But the kind of crowd that gathered in Nagaland towns that we visited, it was not Kohima, the evening meeting was in a smaller place. I forget the name of the place. But you would have images of that. And then I reached there an hour ago and I spoke to a lot of people. Nagaland is the first insurgency state of India. People would have had deep alienation. But they said, no, this man is good. It's sincere, he'll do something. So in Nagaland, there was very good reception. Same story with Arunachal and the same story yesterday with Meghalaya. If you could just, at some point show your viewers these images from Meghalaya, or everyone standing with their mobile phone with torchlights on. So in the marginal parts of India, these are marginal parts, I agree. These are peripheries, I agree. And to draw conclusion from Arunachal, Himachal, and from Arunachal, Meghalaya, Nagaland, and Manipur may not be correct. But the first part, the first slice that we have seen is very, very encouraging, more encouraging than I thought would be the case. Assam is something that we are going through now. And again, going by the crowd response in Guwahati today, I think the Yatra is doing much better than electoral figures might tell you.
Two questions before I let you go, because we're in danger of this line deteriorating. When I interviewed during the Bharat Jodo Yatra of last year, you said that that yatra had completely removed, indeed, it had eliminated Rahul Gandhi's Pappu image. How has his image changed during this yatra?
Anyways, is done with. That was done by the last Yatra, as you rightly that you reminded me. Now Rahul has to present himself as a leader who has a vision. A leader needs to radiate. It's not enough not to be Pappu. You have to be a person who can offer a vision, a person who radiates confidence, a person who can transfer energy. I see beginnings of that in this yatra, but it's too early to comment on that. While the media would indeed focus on the personality of Rahul Gandhi and personally how Rahul Gandhi gains and so on, my focus, as in the last yatra, continues to be on what the country gains, because we are in the reason why me and my colleagues are there is not Rahul Gandhi. The reason is not Congress party. The reason is that this country faces an absolutely unprecedented challenge. Our constitution is at stake. The values that we inherited from our freedom struggle are at stake. Everything that we have fought for, that our freedom fighters fought for, is going, if not gone. And that needs to be rescued. If Rahul Gandhi becomes the vehicle for that, great for Rahul Gandhi. If Congress party becomes the vehicle for that, we work for that, irrespective of whatever we may have said, thought, or worked against Congress party. So to me, Rahul Gandhi is not the only question, though I must underline the fact that the kind of response he has personally generated among the most marginalized sections of society, among the Adivasis, Dalits, and now in the regional periphery, that actually is very, very, makes me feel very warm, makes me feel very positive.
My very last question, and it picks up on a thought that you just enunciated, that the election that will be happening in April, May this year is one of the most critical, if not the most critical, that India has had to face in the 75 years. If that election were to be reduced to the question, Modi versus who, and that question is answered in default, Modi versus Rahul Gandhi, do you fear that BJP could win? And if the answer is yes, is it therefore incumbent on Rahul Gandhi to make it crystal clear that he will not be the presumptive prime ministerial candidate of the India alliance? And if need be, he may have to say that repeatedly until that message is accepted.
Too many ifs in this question, Karan, and it's not for me to answer those questions. Yes, you are absolutely right. This election, and I keep saying, ये संसद का चुनाव नहीं है, इसे तो संविधान सभा के चुनाव की तरह देखिए. Because in a sense, this election threatens the constitution in many ways. Our constitution is at stake. Constitutional values are at stake. So yes, this is absolutely critical, and yes, everyone should put everything into this election. So I completely agree with all those things. You seem to be suggesting that in order to win this election, the opposition should get into this game of Modi versus who. This has been the following: that the moment opposition gets into this trap of Modi versus who, it works to the disadvantage of the opposition. The only correct answer to this question is Modi versus Mudda. What is the Mudda? Unemployment, inflation, massive inequality, national security. So the only hope that the opposition has to take on the BJP effectively and defeat them in this election is by making times for me that reality. I don't look at faces. I refuse to get into this debate of who's going to the prime minister. And as Mr. Kharge very wisely said, अरे पहले पीएम एमपी तो आ जाए बाद में पीएम की बात कर लेना. I completely agree with you.
Yogendra Yadav, thank you very much for making time for me. I should point out to the audience that you were kind enough to part company with the Yatra briefly to give us this interview virtually from the roadside in Assam, which is why frequently the line was a bit distorted. Sometimes it was a little difficult to hear you, but I don't think it was ever difficult to follow the gist of what you were saying. I thank you for making time for me on this critical day. Happy Yatra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.